All right, good morning and welcome to the February 2025 meeting of the Douglas County Criminal Justice Coordinating Council. This meeting is now called to order. I wanted to welcome our new members today, but also note that we're going to do member introductions as our second agenda item today due to some scheduling constraints. Both Patrick Schmitz and Jay Armbruster are going to have to get off this call shortly. So we're going to start with item number 1, which is a review of the 2025 through 2027 strategic plan. And I'm going to turn it over to our chairperson of that committee, Patrick Schmitz.
Thank you, Jessica, and fellow coordinating council members, as well as anybody on the public. Katie is putting up, not her calendar, but there we go, the presentation. What I'm going to cover probably in the next 20 minutes, hopefully we can do it in that relative time, is the results of the strategic planning process. So as a reminder, following our review by JMI, they had made several recommendations, such as developing some bylaws and maybe some structural changes to the council in terms of membership and an executive team, executive council or board for it. And then one of the other recommendations was development of a strategic plan. So we set out a very ambitious goal this summer to begin a process for developing our strategic plan. One of the first things we did was to set up a work group for that, and that's on the next slide. Myself, Jessica Glendenning, Chief Wes Lovett, and Judge James McCabria were the leads on that, along with Katie and our partners from JMI, principally Christy Danforth and Amy Wickman. And there was a couple other folks occasionally who helped support that work. What is laid out here is kind of the timeline, a review of the things that occurred starting in early September. I'm not going to read through every one of these. I believe people are able to do that. But between September and January, a lot of work was done. Kickoff meetings, gathering group focus information, and I'll go into some depth on some of that, reviewing some survey results, the strategic planning retreat, and then some follow-up meetings after that got us to a point of developing our initial strategic plan. As we said when we embarked on this, we knew this was an aggressive timeline. Many places will take 6 to 12 months to develop a strategic plan, and we literally embarked on it with the goal of completing it in about 4 months. And so we're really excited about the product we're about to share with you. Katie, do you want to go to the next slide? So JMI and Katie helped facilitate 6 focus groups where people were brought in and to provide feedback on a number of things related to the work that we do here on the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council. They offered an online community survey to gather feedback. Similarly, for a variety of issues, Katie embarked on a system-wide data template, sent that out to try to gather data from a number of different areas. And this was an incredibly extensive piece to this. And we learned a lot from that, not only from the data that was submitted, but how difficult it was to get that data pulled together. And that helped inform our process going forward as well. We conducted a 1.5-day retreat of the members and had a really good turnout for that, in which we reviewed the results of the focus groups, the online survey, and looking at what quantitative data was available and the template. Of course, during the course of those 1.5 days, we did various SWOT analysis to identify our priority areas. And work through an iterative process of setting goals, objectives, and activities that could be that was circulated amongst the work group and the CJCC members as a whole. An initial draft was sent to the CJCC for review on January 14th, with feedback due 10 days later. And we received some feedback that helped us finalize this. And what we're presenting to you today is the final draft plan and some discussion questions related to the strategic plan. Any questions so far?
I see none, Patrick.
Very good. All right. So what we're going to show you next is the first two priority areas. And again, I'm not going to go in a deep dive on this. All of this was sent out to the council members, and it will be made available publicly. I think following this meeting, if I'm not mistaken, Katie. So we, through the process, identified four priority areas. The first priority area was to enhance existing system data metrics. So collect, analyze, and share data to identify trends, guide strategic discussion, and inform decision making. So this is a pretty broad one, but a lot of conversation over the years, and certainly during the course of developing this strategic plan, data was really important. How do we capture that data? Are we capturing it equally, the same across every department that's being asked? Are they answering the data questions the same way? And so we know that we really need to dive into that and make that a clearer, more robust process. So that is why that became strategic priority at number one. Now, the numbers does not mean it's the top one, and the fourth one doesn't matter. They're all super important to us. We just how we numbered them. Although this one is a big one, without a doubt. So you will see there some goals and objectives related to that. The second priority area was to assess and strengthen the pretrial processes to maximize pretrial outcomes. So again, how do we early on in the stages of someone's involvement in the criminal justice system impact their experience and their outcome for a better, more positive outcome through that process, and hopefully before trial things can get settled, or that they're better prepared if there is a need for trial. A lot of work will be done on that. A lot of questions have yet to be asked and answered in terms of what are people's experience and what can we do to make this better. So this priority, this goal, and the objectives will help us begin to assess what happens in practice and how do we inform and move this forward better. Any questions on the first two priority areas?
There's no questions in the room, Patrick.
I have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Shannon has a question.
Go ahead, Shannon.
Hi, thank you. I'm just curious. So I know that we're talking about all pretrial decision points, right? Not just pretrial services. I just wanted to take the opportunity mostly to refresh my memory and ask Pam about the stakeholder group that does the review, that reviews specifically the assessment tools that pretrial uses. Is that correct? Can you just correct the record on that and talk about any overlap, if any, that you see with this process, sort of as at least roughly outlined in priority 2 when it comes to like assessment of the tools that you all use? And
Well, there are a couple of things that are happening. One, we do a stakeholder group that reviews our current pretrial process, and we look at our praxis and try and look at, like, are the outcomes that we're looking at, like, are the failure to peers staying the same? And then the success rate of those different levels of supervision, if there's anything we want to kind of change. Like, we've reduced a lot of the house arrest or electronic monitoring functions within the praxis. We're on the, I think, the 18th or 19th version. We keep tweaking it based on the data. So we're going to be looking at the 2024 data here soon. There's also a state committee that's looking at pretrial programming. And so we're going to wait and see what those folks come out with. I think Judge Hanley is a member of that group. And we're going to see if they're going to be adopting any kind of a state praxis or a state tool for assessing risk unfair to peer. So there's a lot of things going on. So I think it'll dovetail kind of what the CJCC is doing.
Yeah, nothing of what we've proposed in terms of strategic planning goals supplants or takes away from any of the existing work that's going on. Really, it really is to identify a focus area and knowing that that's an important thing that needs to be continued, and how do we support that work better and more holistically across the experience.
Thanks,
Okay.
Patrick. I don't think we
Yes.
have anything else. In the
All right,
room.
Katie, next slide, please. The next, the number 3, improve public safety outcomes by more deliberately providing a continuum of criminal justice program options for intentionally reduce crime contributing factors. So we know we've been looking at a lot of that. And again, this is designed to help really focus us and put in place a goal and some objectives to this. One of the things I did not say at the beginning, attached to this, it's not in this packet, but attached to the strategic planning process is a much more extensive document that goes further into the goals, the objectives, and some of the strategy specific actions that we're going to be doing on that. And that is a, 4 or 5 page document. It really goes deeper into it. So what you see here is really just that high level overview of the strategic plan priority areas. Then the 4th priority is to develop a strategic communication plan. I think one of the things we recognized during the process is a lot of people may not know about the CJCC and all the work that we've done, all of the good work that has been done over the 8-10 years that the CJC has been in place. A lot has been done, but we're not really good about bragging about that and letting people know that work. And it's not about that. It's about bragging and getting accolades for it. It's really to say, hey, we've done a lot. We're going to continue to do a lot. But let's recognize our system has made progress, and we recognize more progress needs to be made. And so how do we make sure we elevate that, communicate that? And one of the first objectives, obviously, under this plan will be publishing this strategic plan. And a lot of the work in this one has yet to be really fully developed. So when you see that more fulsome plan, there's some work that needs to be done, because a lot of the PIOs that we want to be a part of this process just weren't part of the retreat or some of the initial conversations, because this is one that kind of bubbled up in the process of the review and gathering data and in the discussions. So those are your second set of priority areas. Are there any questions on that, on either of these?
I don't think we have any questions,
Okay.
Patrick.
Then the next slide kind of shows you a timeline of kind of what we anticipate. Is it possible things will slide and adjust a little bit? Absolutely. But in process of developing a strategic plan, you also want to plan when you're going to really start doing some of that work. And so the areas with the orange or peach color kind of show you where we're going to start really working on the different objectives within each of those priority areas. Again, some might take a little longer. Some might take even less time. And be honestly, some we may not achieve. And actually, some of these are probably not completely achievable within the 3-year time frame we've given ourselves, but we still have to get started on it. We still have to get working on these areas to show progress, to continue to improve the system. Nor is this preventative of some new issue coming up, some new priority area, or I shouldn't say a priority area, but something that's really critical that we have to address. We're not going to say, oh gosh, this doesn't fit on our strategic plan. We know it's really important to people. It matters to their life, but it's not on our strategic plan. That's not the point of this either. This strategic plan should allow for and will allow for us to be able to deal with those hot issues that are critical and important while also continuing progress on some significant things that we recognize as a council that needs to happen. Next slide, please. So this set of questions was sent out to the CJCC members, and they're just some reflection questions for discussion. Kind of where do you stand? So does this plan represent your thoughts, views, and input provided during the process? Where do you see yourself in this plan and its execution? Who from your staff, team, agency would be most effective and impactful in supporting this work? And it's really important as you think about that. We want somebody who's going to be able to come to the table and who can commit to certain actions. So that's that part about an actionable person. Somebody who can come in and say, yes, our agency, our department can do this. We're committed to doing this. And we don't have to run back to somebody else and get permission. That just slows things up, as we all know. So we want actionable people at the table. And then lastly, of course, are there holes or anything missing in this plan? Does this plan prevent us from doing work on other things? And as I mentioned, it really shouldn't stop us from doing work on other things. And in fact, it might help us guide and direct that through a more formalized and a uniform process. So with that, I know I have to leave in a couple of moments, but I'll turn it over to the chair for continuation and direction at this point. Jessica?
Thank you, Patrick. In thinking about those reflection and discussion questions, we wanted to just kind of open up the floor and see if anyone had thoughts or concerns that they wanted to address before we move to taking a vote on the strategic plan that's been put forward. Okay.
I'd say it looks good. I mean, I appreciate the work of the committee and I'm putting it together. I don't see any holes there that I see missing. And obviously, I mean, I'm more of the, since I'm here as an elected official, I'm not the one doing this much action as I am looking at the results and supporting the team. But I mean, I really appreciate about this strategic plan. We have goals we're trying to achieve, outcomes we're trying to achieve, and that I think is important in letting the community know that we're making a difference. So appreciate the work and certainly look to be part of the process.
Thank you, Brad.
This is Pam. I had already anticipated that it was going to take quite a bit of staff time on my part to fulfill the things that are part of my organization's responsibilities. And I don't have any problem with that.
Does anyone else have any comments that they want to share before we put the strategic plan to a vote?
So in the new bylaws, since this is our first go round on this, other than electing officers, adopting the strategic plan is the only other thing that requires a vote by the body. So this might feel different because this is a different process for probably what we're used to. So I just want to, that's why Jessica's talking about a vote. And we do have a quorum. A quorum for us would be 8. We probably will need a motion, a second, and then we'll do a vote. And we will touch base with we'll ask the folks online too, because we do have a few members online. So I just want to say set the stage. That's why y'all are being asked to
Sure.
vote.
Katie, this is Patrick Schmidt. I would move to adopt the strategic plan.
This is Pam, second.
Right? We're just going to do a motion by show of hands then, and for those online, if you would indicate your vote. But we have a motion to adopt the 2025 through 2027 strategic plan. I would ask by a show of hands, if you are voting to adopt the plan, please raise your hand. Okay. That looks like a unanimous vote. So we will move forward with this as our strategic plan.
Thank you.
we'll
And
move on.
I just want to thank everyone for their involvement. We know we asked a lot of you. We asked a lot of the community and just really appreciate everyone's involvement in making this first strategic plan a really good document and something that will help really guide us. So thank you all. And I will log off now and run to my next thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. All right, and we are going to move on to talk about next steps with our strategic plan because we've adopted that plan. And as you saw, we had some kind of goal timelines for each of those 4 priority areas. The kind of first steps would be with priority area 1, which is our system data metrics priority. And to start that initial work, we're asking that each of the organizations that are going to be gathering data for this work with Katie Fitzgerald to identify a point person involved in each agency for each of those decision points that we're gathering data on, who could be included in our data and technology committee. And that's how that priority group was set up with a data and technology committee. Katie is going to be reaching out to each of those groups, and the hope is that by the April meeting, we will have members and the charter for that data and technology committee for the CJCC as a whole to approve. So for now, that request is work with Katie to identify who in your agency is able to provide the data that's needed. The other priority area that we are starting work on right now is the communications priority area 4. And for that right now, what we're asking is that Katie Fitzgerald and Carrie Britt, who is our public information officer for Douglas County, they're going to be talking with the public information officers for all of the local agencies. And the plan is that in April, they will report back with a planned structure and membership to develop a strategic communications plan for this body. So if you are working with a public information officer, just encourage them to work with Katie and Carrie. Does anyone have questions about those initial steps for those 2 priority areas? All right. Well, seeing none, we're going to move on to our item 2 for today, which is new member introduction. So as you recall, when we changed our structure with our amended bylaws or our new bylaws that went into effect, we have some different membership positions. And those changes, along with our local elections, resulted in a couple of membership changes for our CJCC body. So for our law enforcement, we have Sheriff Armbrister and Chief Lockhart, who will be representing our law enforcement partners. We have our new district attorney, Dakota Loomis, and we have 2 new appointments for our community membership. Doris Ricks is rejoining us as our community member at large. And then we have Tim Shoulderblade, who's going to be joining us as one of our impacted individuals. We also have 1 remaining community partner position or community representative who's an impacted individual that we are still looking for. I'm going to have Dakota and Tim introduce themselves since they're the new to us members, and then we're going to go around the table and introduce ourselves so that they can get to know each of the rest of us as well. Tim, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Timothy Shoulderblade. I am currently an outreach/peer support specialist with Artists Helping the Homeless. Currently on my sophomore year at Haskell Indian Nations University, and I am excited to see what this committee brings, the council brings. Thank you.
Dakota Loomis. I've had the pleasure of working with Tim and previously and has seen his progress at Haskell too. So I'm really glad when Katie let me know that I was on this committee that she asked me about the impacted individual seats, and the first person I thought of was Tim. So I'm really glad to have him here with us. I've seen his capacity and his heart, and so I know he's a great addition to this team. On my end, I'm really looking forward to learning more about this body, learn how I can fit in and help support it. I've talked with my staff already. They're bought in to make sure that the commission has the information they need. The council gets everything that we need to get them from data and support, but I'm fully on board with making sure this process works well and making sure that CJCC has everything they need to go forward.
Thank you. We're going to jump to our online members. Jay, I know you're going to have to log off, so if you would start us off online.
Sure. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm Jay Armbrister, the sheriff here in Douglas County. Just a few weeks into my second term, so you're stuck with me for another 3.95 years roughly. And for those of you that maybe don't know, being the sheriff, not only are we a law enforcement agency, we also maintain and operate the jail, which is where a huge portion of our data tends to come from. And so I look forward to our strategic plan and being a part of both an input and someone who can utilize the data and the resources that we gain from it. So Mr. Shoulderblade, I've not met you, but when you say Artists Helping the Homeless, you automatically have credibility in my book, because that is an amazing program. And I look forward to working alongside you on this council.
Thank you, Jay. Lori, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Hello, everyone. I am Lori Alvarado. I'm the CEO at DECA. Our work with this group largely is treatment. We are the drug court treatment provider. We also provide behavioral health court process, and also for other folks who might find themselves in a place where in the justice system they need to have some substance abuse treatment. So we have both a women's recovery center or women's center, treatment center in town, as well as a very active outpatient program. And we also have men's residential that we have access to in Wichita that we have supported getting down there for work. You also see peers in the community that we hire to support those in recovery so that they can become very active members in the community through their recovery. So excited to have a strategic plan. Can I just say that? I'm excited to have a new strategic plan so we can focus on work together that will get us the outcomes that will help our community grow and prosper. So thank you.
Thank you, Lori. I'm Jessica Glendenning. I'm the Chief Public Defender here in Douglas County. So I manage an office that represents individuals who are charged with felony conviction or felony crimes and cannot afford an attorney to represent them. I'm going to pass it off to my right to Brad.
Sounds good. I am Brad Finkeldye. I am a Lawrence City Commissioner and been appointed by the City Commission to this board. I think this is my third year on. I also serve as the, I don't know what we call me, the vice chair of the board. The vice chair of the board. I missed a meeting and I got stuck. No, just kidding. Happy to work with Jessica on that. And I'm also an attorney at Stevens and Brand, but I do not do criminal work, so that does not help me here. Oh, I'm a member at large.
My name is James McCabe. I'm the Chief District Court Judge for Douglas County. I've been in that position. This is my 5th year as Chief Judge. I've been on the bench 10 years. Since becoming Chief is the amount of time I've spent on the CJCC. It's been a very good experience, very good perspective. Excited to have the strategic plan in place and look forward to continuing to move things forward.
Chris Kopecki. I am the Lawrence Municipal Court Judge, and I've also enjoyed being on this committee. It's been quite interesting, actually. And I've been Municipal Court Judge for about 2.5 years or so, just under.
Hi, excuse me, I'm Susan Binkelman. I'm the Chief Court Services Officer with Douglas County District Court. We supervise all misdemeanor probation and low-level or low-risk felonies, as well as right to PSIs. I've been a probation officer for about 20 years and in this position for 3 years. I am also the vice chair of this committee. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Doris Ricks. This is the 3rd year on this committee. What I do love and appreciate about this committee is all of the folks that are on the committee and how it represents the community very well. But what I like most of all is we want actionable people at the table. And they are going to want actionable people at the table for real. I mean, even during vacation time, just saying. Okay. Okay. So, first of all, I am the community at large. I'm representative VP for the branch NAACP here, member of League of Women Voters, member of USD 497, Diversity and Equity, member of this, teaching part-time of the part-time for Peasley Tech, leadership courses for some of our manufacturing facilities that are here, such as Berry Global, AMAR, and sometimes we insert ourselves into Cottonwood as well. I think that's all, but I'm sure there's more. But that's it for me as that community at large person.
I'm Shannon Reed, and I'm the county commissioner elected by District 2. So I just started my second term for that, and this is my 3rd year serving on CJCC. And sort of what brought me to public service in this way, and my particular interest in CJCC is that my other job in my career is working at the Willow Domestic Violence Center. So I've been there for about a dozen years doing court advocacy with survivors. And so that looks like everything from being the victim of crime and navigating all the processes with that, but also being a person who is a survivor of violence, also navigating their own criminal charges as well as other court-related things that intersect often. So that's sort of the perspective that I bring. I also grew up here. I'm a townie, and have a long history of family sort of steeped in different parts of the court system. So it's definitely exciting to have some new membership and some returning membership too, with community representation. I think that's such an important piece of this board. So thanks for being here and diving in with us, especially at the beginning of a strategic plan. You too, Dakota, welcome aboard. And also, I just appreciate this opportunity to have a little reintroduction to folks around the table who we've also known each other and worked together for a while, but I'm excited to be here, and thanks for joining us, Tim.
Well, welcome Tim and Dakota, and welcome back, Doris. My name is Pam Weegan. I'm the Director of Criminal Justice Services. I've been on the CJCC since its inception. I can't even tell you how long ago that was. I've been the director, yeah, I was gonna say it was 9. I've been the Director of Criminal Justice Services for 32 years. Obviously, that role has changed significantly over that time, so I don't want to imply it's been the whole thing the whole time, because it hasn't been. But we're basically responsible for any county criminal justice function other than the jail. So we supervise the specialty courts, behavioral health court, drug court. We do house arrest and GPS monitoring. We do diversions. We do everything related with youth. So we're pretty heavily involved and look forward to working on the strategic plan with the rest of the committee. It's nice to meet you.
Well, thank you, everyone, and welcome Dakota and Tim. We do have one position still open for an impacted individual, and I think Katie is going to pull up for us informations just so that you're aware if you want to direct people, if you know someone who you think would be a good fit. There is an application on our website, which is the dgcoks.gov. And then you go to boards and councils in the CJCC, and people can submit an application there to be our additional community representative impacted individual position. And if you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to Katie. All right, so our next item on the agenda for today is meeting logistics for 2025. And this is something that we discussed in the executive committee. There was quite a bit of feedback through the process of working with JMI over the last year, that people felt that in-person meetings had better participation and more meaningful discussions. And we have decided that moving forward in 2025, since we have this newly renovated meeting space available, we're going to conduct those meetings in person. We're going to discontinue the hybrid meeting format. We're still willing to work with members and try to accommodate if there's scheduling issues, but we are going to emphasize doing our meetings in person for 2025. And our next meeting is April 8th at 11. The full list of all the meetings for the year are included in your materials for today, listing all the dates for 2025. Those were the only set agenda items that we had. We wanted to open up the opportunity for future agenda items. So if anyone has things that they wanted the executive committee to consider, you are welcome to bring those now as potential future agenda items. I would open up the floor if anyone wants to offer up any potential future agenda items.
I just wanted to talk about meeting. I wanted to talk this, Pam. I want to talk about meeting logistics and lunch. I kind of prefer the format where you select what we want to eat versus just a smorgasbord of sandwiches. So I didn't know if there was any conversation that we wanted to have about that.
I have a lot of thoughts on this.
I think that sometimes when our criminal justice coordinator is very busy, the format is you get what you get and you don't get upset, as the kids' book that I used to read.
I will say, I think I will just throw out there, I think it begs the question, is lunch necessary? We did decide on this time frame, which is traditionally a lunch time frame, but some meetings are structured as bring your own lunch or no lunch. So I think that's a consideration since we opened the floor for discussion.
Katie, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I could go either way, whatever you all prefer. And generally, when you get a tray of sandwiches, it is because I didn't have capacity to arrange orders. But I'm happy to do kind of whatever y'all would like and prefer. Because I have wondered, I generally know what most of y'all order when we order from the same place. I've got that down most of the time. But so whatever the preference of the body is, I'm happy to go with whatever, and I'll make more of an effort to get individual lunches if that's the way that we want to go. So you all kind of tell me what y'all would like.
Do you have a request, Pam?
Well, I said I like it when we get. I'm not the biggest fan of. I'll do whatever. I just thought this would be.
Pam, this is Robin. You need to speak into the microphone because we're recording.
I don't have a preference. I just wanted to bring it up so I could at least find out what the group was thinking about it.
I'm fine with whatever. I have no preference. What I was going to offer, at least maybe, is given all the work that Katie's doing and staffing considerations, I'd be happy to have our office coordinate that, and I can have my executive assistant do that. So take it off of Katie's plate, and that way she can focus on this, and we can do whatever the group wants to do through our office.
I like having Dakota on this.
Well, I do appreciate that offer, Dakota. And I think, I was sitting here having the thought, like, this is not a very convenient meeting to rotate spaces. And I don't mean to suggest that, because this is such a convenient location for at least the vast majority of members. But sort of potential rotation or opportunity for sort of that hosting capability in terms of logistics. We could at least try that out for April. Maybe I'll just suggest that. Maybe it doesn't have to be a permanent decision, but since Dakota offered that, like, coordination of lunches for the membership, it's a little bit of a smaller list these days too. And see how that goes, and we can revisit the conversation later. I would agree that I prefer being able to select, and that's always, it's helpful for accommodating any potential dietary restrictions and accounting for that, but it's absolutely logistical work. So I can appreciate that.
Thank you for that. Does anyone else have anything else they want to raise as a potential future agenda item?
I wondered how, and it would have helped me if I culled back through last year's full agenda items, but something at a later meeting, I suppose it would be June or possibly August, and I don't even know who exactly we would ask for this, but a legislative update of sorts, just something to, some sort of digestible way to synthesize information that has happened at the closure of the session as it relates to the criminal justice system. So I know that but many of the people here know the things that affect their offices directly, and sometimes they affect multiple decision points. And who knows if there will be any substantial changes to the legislature worth updating, but maybe a future summertime post-session update would be helpful.
Right. Do we have some time set aside for open discussion or for agency updates? Do any members have anything that they want to share with the committee? All right, go ahead, Katie.
On the back, so I actually don't know that that I sent this out. So for Laura, you online, I don't know that this part is attached to the meeting invitation, and potentially Sheriff, if you're still listening. So I will send it out afterwards. But on the back of the agenda, what's printed is I have a list of the members and the executive committee, and then also the list of meetings for the rest of the year, location with here in the courthouse, like all the things you need to know about kind of who and the where and when. So if this, I want to be sure if there's no glaring edits to this, or this will end up going on the website. So I'll be working with Carrie and IT to get this updated on our website. It's as one of the things that within the standards that the CJCC standards that we need to make sure that we're doing. But so I updated in this format as kind of just a one pager. I will make sure that that the folks who are, I don't think that I sent this out actually earlier because I was still working on it yesterday. So if y'all have edits or if y'all see anything that's not correct, please let me know. Otherwise, I would anticipate that later this week this is updated and posted online. And I would remind folks with meeting here and the beginning of the construction on our Judicial and Law Enforcement Center, for folks who are not officed close to the old courthouse or the JLE, parking is challenging. So for future, just to keep that in mind for future meetings, it's challenging, I hear. So I would just share those two things. I think that's all I have.
So I do have just one question. Since Tim is very new here with us, if you decide to have committee work done, making sure that we understand as community folks, those subcommittees, can you explain a little bit more about how that works, please? So that Tim is aware.
So that's a good question because Doris has been on a lot of our subcommittees and the work groups. So through the strategic plan, what will happen, at least the way that we've laid this out in our new bylaws, are the way that Jessica earlier kind of introduced the charging of the first two priorities that we're going to work on. Those will result in some smaller set of work group members or a committee of some sort. Particularly, I think we know that the communications one, we will probably ask one or both of you all at least to be part of. So as we pull together, as we have priorities that we're working on and we think about what's the next objective that we're trying to achieve, who are the right people, who are the best people to make sure that we have at the table to accomplish that. We have been trying to make sure that we are very intentionally incorporating community members as part of that, not just our members here on the CJCC, but also other community folks that work with or kind of touch some of our other agencies. So I will say I would not expect that you would find out in a meeting that we would volunteer you for a work group, but you probably would hear from some of either the executive committee members, so Jessica, Brad, or Susan, or myself, or whoever is going to, it looks like it will become the chair of one of those work groups, to say, hey, we're working on this. We thought you might have a good perspective. Would you have the availability and the interest to participate in that? And then we would share that. So we wouldn't, I don't think we ever did that to like volunteer people in a meeting, but, and so this is a little bit of a new process for the CJCC, but it should be a little more structured and kind of guided. So we would have a more clear vision and set of kind of expectations for you all once, like now that we're kind of operating under the strategic plan and have more clearly defined objectives and goals that we're working towards. I don't know, Doris, if that's kind of what you were looking for.
This is Brad Finkeldine, the member at large, not the vice chair of the executive committee. Just enjoy being on the executive committee. No, Dakota, not saying there should be any changes or there will be any changes, but I wonder like come like April at our next meeting, if there are changes in kind of way your office runs and how that might affect, how we interact or what the committee work does, if you could provide some update on any changes. Again, there might not be any, but if there is, I'd be interested in just knowing a little bit about any changes that come that might affect the work of this group.
I appreciate that, Brad, and I'm sure there have been changes, there'll be more changes. Internally right now, I can tell you that we're almost through the first month, and the plan was really to do a 30-day, 60-day, and 9-day review with changes being implemented kind of at those milestones. So we're in the process of rewriting, editing, deleting, adding to the policy and procedure manual right now. We've got new staff come on, we're going to continue to come on over the next couple of weeks, month. And so there'll be some changes that way too, just from a staff perspective. But I can certainly, at the April 8th meeting, I think most of those changes at least the initial ones will probably be in effect at that point, because that'll be roughly 90 days out. Things will continue to change throughout, and we can update you as it goes, but that April 8th meeting would probably be a good meeting to give a kind of a formal updating in terms of if there's any policies or procedures that will impact this group. I will tell you right now, I think the staffing, there's some folks in my office who will probably interact with this group on the data piece. So on Objective 1 and Objective 4, there'll be a couple of folks in my office who will be interacting directly with this group who are new. And so introducing them, I might want them to at least come over on April 8th to say hello, so you have a face that goes along with the name I'm using. But other than that, I don't see huge changes occurring that would impact this group. But if they do, I'll let you know about it.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any agency updates or open discussion that they want to raise? All right. Seeing none, then we will move on to our last agenda item, which is public comment. And this is the time for the public to provide general comment. We're going to limit those comments to 3 minutes. There's no one in the room, it looks like, to provide public comment. Robin, is there anyone online who wants to provide public comment today?
I see no hands raised.
Okay. Thank you. Public comment can also be provided to the committee via email, and the email address for that is cjcc@dgcoks.gov. So anyone is able to submit public comment via email address, and that's on the website as well. Is there anything else for the good of the order today? Okay. Seeing none, this meeting will be adjourned. Our next meeting is April 8th at 11 a.m. here in the commission chambers. And I'm going to ask those of you that are present in the room to hang on for just a couple minutes. Carrie Britt is going to come down and introduce herself and say hello to everybody. All right, thank you.